Captain Kim Dae stared at the glowing screen in his small office. The message had arrived 3 minutes ago, but he still could not believe what he was reading. The words seemed to burn into his eyes as he read them again. Final decision of the Galactic Council. Species classification human, status exiled. Effective immediately. All human presence must withdraw from galactic space within 30 standard days. No exceptions. Kim Dae was 45 years old and had spent 20 years working with alien species. He had seen wars end and peace treaties signed. He had watched new planets join the galactic community. But he had never seen anything like this. The message continued with cold, formal language. Humans were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. The council had voted and the decision was final. Every human ship, every human colony, every human citizen had to return to Earth's solar system. After 30 days, any human found outside that boundary would be considered an enemy. Kim Dae leaned back in his chair and laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes when something is so ridiculous that anger cannot even begin to cover it. The other species in the galaxy thought humans were dangerous. They had no idea how right they were. His door chimed softly. "Come in," he called. Dr. Park Soo entered the office. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back tightly. She had been Kim Dae's science officer for 8 years, and he could read her expressions better than most people could read books. Right now she looked excited. "You got the message," she said. It was not a question. 30 days, Kim Dae said. "They want us gone in 30 days. "Perfect timing," Park Soo said, sitting down across from him. "The final test finished yesterday." "Everything is ready," Kim Dae nodded slowly. For the past 15 years, a small group of humans had been preparing for this exact moment. Not hoping for it, but preparing for it. They had seen the signs. The way other species looked at humans during council meetings. The way trade agreements always seemed to favor everyone except Earth. The way human colonies were always the first to be investigated when something went wrong. "Call the others," Kim Dae said. "Emergency meeting in conference room 7. Full security protocols." Park Soo smiled. "Already done. They are waiting for us." Conference room 7 was not like the other meeting rooms on the station. It was buried deep in the lower levels, surrounded by thick metal walls that blocked all electronic signals. Only a handful of people knew it existed, and even fewer knew what it was really used for. When Kim Dae and Park Soo arrived, 3 other people were already there. Commander Lee Bin sat at the far end of the table, his military uniform perfect as always. Lee Bin was the kind of person who could plan a war and a wedding with equal skill. Next to him sat Engineer Choi Yu, a young woman whose hands were always dirty from working on machines. She could make broken engines sing and dead computers dance. The last person in the room was General Han Sol, the highest-ranking human military officer in this sector of space. Han Sol was old enough to remember when humans first met alien species. He had been there for the first handshake, the first trade agreement, and the first betrayal. "So," Han Sol said as Kim Dae sat down, "it finally happened. Unanimous vote," Kim Dae said. "Every single species voted to exile us. Even the Kelvins?" Lee Bin asked. "We saved their home planet last year. Especially the Kelvins," Kim Dae replied. "Apparently, saving their planet made them realize how dangerous we could be if we decided not to save someone." Choi Yu laughed bitterly. "So we are too dangerous when we fight and too dangerous when we help." "Makes perfect sense." "It does make sense," Park Soo said quietly. "From their point of view, they have been watching us for 50 years. They have seen how fast we learn, how quickly we adapt. We went from barely knowing how to fly to the stars to building our own space stations in less than a century. That terrifies them." "Good," Han Sol said. "Fear keeps people honest." "Not this time," Kim Dae said. "This time fear has made them stupid. They think exile will solve their problem. They think if they push us away, we will just disappear quietly." "Will we?" Lee Bin asked. Kim Dae smiled for the first time since reading the message. "Oh, we will disappear, but not the way they expect." He stood up and walked to the wall screen. With a few touches, he brought up a star map. It showed human colonies scattered across dozens of systems, millions of people living on hundreds of worlds. To anyone else, it would look like the humans had spread randomly across space, building wherever they found good planets or useful resources. But Kim Dae and the others in this room knew better. Every single human colony had been placed with careful planning. Every space station, every mining operation, every research facility had been designed with one purpose in mind. Total mobility. Project Exodus, Kim Day said. 15 years of preparation. Every human settlement in space has been built to move. Not just the people, everything. The buildings, the factories, the farms, all of it designed to be packed up and taken with us. The galaxy thinks they are exiling us to Earth, Park Soo added. They have no idea that Earth stopped being our only home decades ago. We have been preparing for this since the day we realized other species feared us. Choi Yu brought up another display. This one showed ship designs that existed nowhere in official records. Sleek vessels that could travel faster and farther than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The new engines are ready. We can move entire colonies without leaving a trace. The galaxy will think we just vanished. Where will we go? Li Bin asked. Everywhere, Hansel replied. And nowhere. We will go to places the galaxy has never thought to look. We will build homes in the spaces between spaces, and we will learn things that will make their current fear look like a child's nightmare. Kim Day looked at each person in the room. These were not just his colleagues. They were his friends, his family, his fellow conspirators in the greatest disappearing act in galactic history. Send the signal, he said. All human settlements, all human ships, all human citizens. Project Exodus is active. We have 30 days to show the galaxy what happens when they try to exile humanity. Park Soo's fingers flew over her tablet. Across dozens of star systems, hidden receivers picked up the coded signal. In colonies that looked like simple farming communities, people began activating machinery that had been waiting years to be used. In space stations that appeared to be basic mining operations, workers started dismantling equipment that could be rebuilt anywhere. The galaxy had made their choice. They wanted humanity gone. They were about to discover that getting what you want can be the most dangerous thing that ever happens to you. Kim Day looked out the small window of the conference room. Stars glittered in the darkness, cold and distant. Soon humans would be among those stars in ways the galaxy could never imagine. They thought they were sending humanity into exile. They had no idea they were setting humanity free. Dr. Park Soo walked through the hidden tunnels beneath Mars Colony 7. The tunnels did not exist on any official map. To anyone checking the colony's records, this was just empty space between the main living areas and the planet's surface. But Park Soo knew better. These tunnels contained humanity's greatest secret. She stopped at a heavy door marked with symbols that looked like maintenance codes. Her hand pressed against a scanner, and the door slid open silently. Beyond it lay a chamber so large it could have held a small city. And in many ways, that was exactly what it held. Dozens of massive machines filled the space, their surfaces gleaming under bright lights. These were not the simple mining equipment that Mars Colony 7 was supposed to be building. These were void drives, engines that could push a ship faster and farther than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Beautiful, are they not? Said a voice behind her. Park Soo turned to see Choi Yu climbing down from one of the machines. The young engineer's clothes were covered in oil and metal dust, but her smile was bright with pride. The tests went well? Park Soo asked. Better than well, Choi Yu replied. We can move a colony ship the size of a small moon without leaving any trace. No heat signature, no energy wake, no nothing. As far as any scanner will know, we just stopped existing. Park Soo nodded and walked to the nearest machine. She had helped design these engines, but seeing them completed still amazed her. They did not work like normal ship engines. Instead of pushing against space, they folded space around themselves. A ship with a void drive did not travel through the universe. It convinced the universe to change shape around it. How many colonies are ready? Park Soo asked. All of them, Choi Yu said. Every human settlement outside Earth has been preparing for this day. The farming colonies have mobile greenhouses that can be packed and moved in 6 hours. The mining operations have portable equipment that breaks down into container-sized pieces. Even the research stations can be folded up and taken with us. Park Soo pulled up a holographic display showing human colonies scattered across known space. To alien observers, these settlements looked random and poorly planned. Humans seemed to build wherever they felt like it without any central organization. The truth was very different. Every single human colony had been placed with careful thought. They were positioned at the edges of galactic civilization, in places where they could disappear without anyone noticing right away. More importantly, they were all connected by secret communication networks that the galaxy's monitoring systems could not detect. Commander Li Bin wants to see the full evacuation schedule, Park Soo said. Choyu nodded and activated another display. This one showed a timeline that covered the next 28 days. Each day was broken down into hours, each hour into minutes. Every human settlement had a specific time when it would begin its disappearance. We start with the outer colonies, Choyu explained. The ones farthest from galactic trade routes. By the time anyone notices they are gone, we will be moving the inner settlements. And by the time the galaxy realizes what is happening, the last human ship will already be beyond their ability to track. Park Soo studied the timeline. It was like watching a magic trick being planned in perfect detail. The galaxy would see humans obeying the Exile order, withdrawing their ships and closing their colonies. But they would not see the real truth until it was too late. The door to the chamber opened again and Commander Li Bin entered. He was followed by a young woman Park Soo had never seen before. She was tall and thin, with the kind of pale skin that came from spending too much time in space. Her eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail of the hidden chamber. "This is Captain Yeonna," Li Bin said. "She will be commanding one of the Deep Scout fleets." Park Soo studied the newcomer. Captain Yeonna looked young, maybe 30 years old, but her uniform showed the kind of wear that came from real experience, not just training exercises. "Deep Scout?" Park Soo asked. "We are not just running away," Li Bin explained. "While the main fleets are moving to the safe zones, Captain Yeonna and others like her will be exploring the spaces the galaxy has never bothered to map. The areas between spiral arms, the void regions beyond the galactic rim, the places where stars are too far apart for normal travel." Captain Yeonna stepped forward. "My team has been training for this mission for 3 years," she said. Her voice was calm and confident. "We know how to survive in deep space without any outside support. We can build what we need from raw materials, and we can go places no one has ever thought to look." "What exactly are you looking for?" Park Soo asked. "Everything," Yeonna replied. "New worlds we can settle, resources we can use, technologies we can learn from, and most importantly, other species who might be hiding from the galaxy just like we are." Park Soo felt a chill run down her spine. "Other species?" Li Bin nodded grimly. "We are not the first species the galaxy has exiled. Over the past 1,000 years, dozens of civilizations have been declared too dangerous or too different to remain in galactic space. Most people think those species just died out or disappeared. But what if they did not? What if they are still out there, surviving in the dark spaces between the stars?" The idea was both exciting and terrifying. If other exiled species had survived, humanity might find allies in the void. But they might also find enemies who had been nursing grudges for centuries. "The galaxy thinks they are solving a problem by exiling us," Choyu said. "They have no idea they might be adding us to a much bigger problem they created long ago." Park Soo walked to another control panel and brought up a different kind of display. This one showed not star maps or colony locations, but data streams. Millions of pieces of information flowing from every part of galactic civilization. "While we are preparing to leave, we are also preparing to take something with us," she said. "For the past 15 years, human computers have been quietly copying every piece of information they could access. Scientific databases, historical records, cultural archives, technical specifications. By the time we finish our exile, we will know more about galactic civilization than most galactic citizens do." Captain Yeonna looked impressed. "You are stealing their entire civilization?" "Not stealing," Park Soo corrected. "Preserving. The galaxy is stagnant. They have been using the same technologies, following the same laws, thinking the same thoughts for hundreds of years. They exile species who might bring new ideas because they are afraid of change. But change is the only way civilizations grow. So we take their knowledge with us into exile," Li Bin said, "and we use it to become something they never imagined possible." The 4 humans stood in the hidden chamber, surrounded by machines that could reshape reality itself. Above them, Mars Colony 7 continued its normal daily routine. Farmers tended their crops, miners dug their tunnels, and children played in the recreation centers. None of them knew that in less than 4 weeks their entire world would vanish from the galaxy's awareness. "How long do you think it will be before they realize what they have done?" Choyu asked. Park Soo smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "By the time they understand their mistake, it will be far too late to fix it. They want to exile humanity because they fear what we might become. They are about to discover that their fear was not nearly big enough." The hidden chamber fell silent except for the quiet humming of the void drives. In 28 days, these machines would carry human civilization beyond the reach of galactic law, galactic oversight, and galactic fear. The species that had tried to cage humanity was about to learn what happened when you gave your most dangerous neighbor both a reason to hide and the tools to disappear completely. Outside the chamber, Mars turned slowly in space, looking peaceful and ordinary. No one watching from the galaxy's monitoring stations had any idea that beneath its surface, humanity was preparing to become something the universe had never seen before. The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with nervous energy. High Arbiter Veltanus stood at the center of the massive circular room, his 4 eyes scanning the gathered representatives of 300 species. For the past week, reports had been flowing in from across the galaxy. All of them said the same impossible thing: the humans were gone. All of them. Sector Commander Zilvac, please repeat your report, Veltanus said. A tall, insect-like being clicked forward on 6 legs. High Arbiter, we have completed our survey of all former human colonies in the Outer Rim. Colony New Shanghai, population 47,000, completely empty. No structures, no equipment, no signs that anyone ever lived there. Colony Bright Hope, population 63,000, the same. Even the foundations of their buildings have been removed. What about debris? Asked Council Member Threxani. Surely they left something behind. Nothing, Zilvac replied. Our sensors detect no trace of human presence. It is as if these colonies never existed. A murmur ran through the chamber. This was not what the Council had expected. The Exile Order had given humans 30 days to withdraw to their home system. The Council had expected to see abandoned colonies, maybe some left-behind equipment, certainly some signs of hurried evacuation. Instead, they were seeing something that seemed impossible. What about the inner colonies? Veltanus asked. Surely the larger settlements could not have been moved so completely. Council Member Drixnell, whose species monitored the galactic communication network, stepped forward. High Arbiter, we have been tracking human transmissions since the Exile Order was given. For the first 20 days, we detected normal evacuation chatter, ships requesting departure clearances, colonies coordinating supply transfers, the usual administrative communications. And then, Day 21, all human communications stopped completely. We have not detected a single human transmission anywhere in the galaxy for the past 7 days. The chamber fell silent. This was wrong. This was impossible. Species did not just vanish without a trace. Even if the humans had somehow managed to move their colonies, there should be heat signatures from their ships, energy trails from their engines, some sign of where they had gone. What about Earth itself? Veltanus asked. The question sent another wave of nervous murmurs through the chamber. If the outer colonies were empty, where had all those millions of humans gone? Earth was a single planet. It could not possibly hold the population of dozens of colony worlds. Drixnell's skin color shifted to a darker blue, a sign of deep concern among his species. High Arbiter, our long-range sensors show that Earth appears to be dormant. Minimal energy signatures, no orbital traffic, no response to our monitoring signals. It is as if the entire planet has gone to sleep. Impossible, snapped Council Member Jektar. A planet with 8 billion inhabitants cannot just go to sleep. Are your sensors malfunctioning? We have checked and rechecked, Drixnell replied. Multiple monitoring stations, different sensor arrays, various scanning frequencies. They all show the same thing. Earth is there, but it might as well be empty. Deep in space, far beyond the galaxy's monitoring range, Captain Kim Day stood on the bridge of the command ship Silent Thunder. The ship was massive, large enough to hold an entire city's population. But to any scanner more than a few kilometers away, it appeared to be nothing more than a piece of space debris. Status report, Kim Day said. Commander Li Bin looked up from his console. All fleets are in position. 347 colony ships, 800 escort vessels, and 6,000 support craft. Total population, 4.7 million humans. Any pursuit? None detected. As far as galactic sensors are concerned, we do not exist. Kim Day nodded with satisfaction. The void drives were working perfectly. Each ship in the human fleet was wrapped in a bubble of folded space that made it invisible to normal detection methods. They could travel at incredible speeds without leaving any energy signature, and they could stop without creating any heat or radiation that would give away their position. What about the deep scouts? Kim Dae asked. Captain Yan Na's fleet made contact 2 days ago, Li Bin replied. They have found something interesting in the void between galactic arms. Kim Dae felt his pulse quicken. Other species? Better than that. They found a space station. Massive, ancient, and definitely not built by anyone in the current galactic civilization. It appears to be some kind of meeting place or trading post, and it is inhabited. The implications hit Kim Dae like a physical blow. If there was a hidden civilization operating in the deep void, it meant other species had survived exile. More than that, it meant they had thrived. How long before we can make contact? Kim Dae asked. Yan Na estimates 6 more days to reach the station. Her initial scans show at least a dozen different species there, none of which appear in any galactic records. Dr. Park Soo approached from the science station. Captain, I have been analyzing the data from our intelligence networks. The galaxy is starting to panic. She brought up a holographic display showing intercepted communications from across galactic space. Government messages, military reports, and civilian news broadcasts all told the same story. Humanity had not just withdrawn from galactic space, they had vanished completely. They are calling emergency council sessions, Park Soo continued. Some species are demanding search expeditions to find us. Others are insisting that this proves humans were too dangerous to exist near civilized space. What about the moderates? Kim Dae asked. That is the interesting part, Park Soo replied. Some council members are starting to ask uncomfortable questions, like why humanity was able to disappear so completely, and what that might mean for galactic security. A few are even wondering if the exile was a mistake. Kim Dae studied the intelligence reports. The galaxy's reaction was exactly what they had hoped for, but it was also revealing something unexpected. The ease with which humanity had vanished was making some galactic leaders realize how little they really knew about the species they had exiled. Captain, called Engineer Choi Yu from the engineering station. I am getting some strange readings from the Earth camouflage system. Earth was still there, of course. Most of humanity's population remained on their home planet, protected by the most sophisticated holographic camouflage ever created. To galactic observers, Earth looked like a world that had gone dark and quiet. In reality, it was busier than ever, serving as the coordination center for the greatest exodus in galactic history. What kind of readings? Kim Dae asked. The energy patterns are shifting, Choi Yu replied. It looks like the camouflage system is adapting, learning from the galactic scans and adjusting itself to be even more convincing. Kim Dae felt a chill run down his spine. The Earth camouflage system had been designed to be passive, a simple projection that would hide the planet's true activity level. If it was starting to adapt and learn on its own, that suggested something much more complex was happening. Could it be developing artificial intelligence? Park Soo asked. That was not supposed to be possible, Choi Yu replied. But the patterns I am seeing suggest something very much like learning behavior. The bridge fell quiet as the implications sank in. Humanity had built their technology to be more advanced than anything in the galaxy, but they had not expected it to start evolving on its own. If their machines were beginning to develop intelligence independently, it raised questions about what humanity was becoming during their exile. Monitor the situation closely, Kim Dae ordered. If our technology is evolving, we need to understand how and why. He turned back to the main display, which showed the location of the hidden space station that Captain Yan Na had discovered. In a few days, humanity would make contact with other species who had survived exile from galactic civilization. They would learn what it meant to live in the deep void, beyond the reach of galactic law and galactic fear. But even more importantly, they would discover what those species had become during their time in exile, and that knowledge would determine what humanity itself chose to become. The galaxy thought it had solved its human problem by pushing them beyond the edges of known space. They had no idea that they had just introduced humanity to civilizations that had been waiting in the darkness for centuries, growing stronger and more advanced than anything the galaxy could imagine. The exile was complete. The real journey was about to begin. 50 years had passed since the Great Exile. Captain Kim Nari stood on the bridge of the Voidwalker, watching as her ship approached something that would have been impossible to imagine when her grandfather first led humanity into the darkness between stars. The structure ahead of them was not built, it was grown. Massive organic curves twisted through space like a living creature made of metal and energy. This was New Geneva, the first joint city built by the Alliance of the Exiled, and it was home to over 2 million beings from 40 different species. Docking clearance granted, came a voice over the communication system. The voice belonged to a Kethani, one of the species that had been exiled from galactic space 300 years before humans ever left Earth. "Welcome back, Captain Kimnari." Kimnari smiled as her ship settled into one of New Geneva's organic docking bays. The bay walls pulsed gently around them, adjusting their shape to perfectly fit the human vessel. This was biotechnology that made galactic engineering look like children playing with blocks. As she walked through the station's corridors, Kimnari marveled at how much had changed. The walls themselves were alive, growing and adapting to the needs of their inhabitants. The air recycling systems were based on modified plant life that could process the breathing requirements of dozens of different species. Even the lighting adjusted automatically to provide the right spectrum for whatever beings were in each area. "The Council of Exiles is ready to see you," said her escort, a tall being with blue-green skin and eyes that glowed with inner light. This was Commander Tal Reshef, a member of the Vorani species. His people had been exiled for being too intellectually aggressive, and they learned too fast and asked too many uncomfortable questions. The council chambers were unlike anything the old Galactic Council had ever imagined. Instead of rigid seats arranged in formal rows, the space flowed like a living organism. Representatives from different species sat, stood, floated, or hung from the ceiling as their biology required. And at the center of it all was an intelligence that existed as pure energy, the collective consciousness of the extinct Jelkar race, preserved after their physical bodies had been destroyed by galactic peacekeeping forces. Captain Kimnari, the energy being spoke with a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Your species has adapted well to exile. The reports from your deep exploration fleets are impressive." Kimnari nodded respectfully. Over the past 50 years, humanity had not just survived in the void, they had thrived. Human colonies now existed in pocket dimensions that could be moved instantly across vast distances. Human ships could fold space around themselves so completely that they existed in multiple locations simultaneously, and human technology had begun to merge with biological systems in ways that created entirely new forms of life. "The galaxy is changing," Kimnari said. "Our monitoring stations report increased tensions between the major powers. Trade wars, territorial disputes, resource conflicts. The same fear that led them to exile our species is now turning them against each other." "As we predicted," said another council member. This one was Lu Shen, whose people had been exiled for developing technology that could manipulate time itself. "Fear-based civilizations always consume themselves eventually. The question is whether we should intervene." The debate that followed was intense but respectful. Some species wanted revenge against the galaxy that had cast them out. Others argued for complete isolation, building their own civilization in the deep void and leaving the galaxy to its fate. A few, including the humans, proposed a third option. "We return," Kimnari said, "but not as the species they exiled. We return as what we have become." She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of human civilization. What the Council saw would have terrified the original Galactic Council beyond all reason. Humanity had not just grown. They had evolved into something that transcended the boundaries between organic and artificial, individual and collective matter and energy. "Human consciousness now exists in multiple states simultaneously," Kimnari explained. "We can be individual minds when we choose, or merge into group intelligences when needed. Our bodies are both biological and technological, capable of surviving in any environment from the core of a star to the vacuum of deep space. And our ships? Our ships are not ships at all anymore. They are extensions of ourselves." To demonstrate, Kimnari gestured toward the wall. The metal and organic material began to flow like liquid, reshaping itself into a perfect replica of the council chamber's layout. "Our technology responds to thought and emotion. We do not build things. We grow them, shape them, become them." Commander Lee Hanna, who had been serving as humanity's military coordinator, stepped forward. "The galaxy's armed forces now number in the billions of ships and trillions of personnel. But they are still using the same basic technologies they had when they exiled us. They think in terms of metal ships with energy weapons, fighting linear battles across predictable battlefields. They cannot comprehend what we have become, added Dr. Park Gina, the daughter of the original Dr. Park Soo. We exist in dimensions they do not know about, using principles of reality they have never discovered. If we chose to return to galactic space tomorrow, their most advanced sensors would not even detect us. The Jelkar energy being pulsed with what might have been amusement. And yet you propose to reveal yourselves? To give up the ultimate advantage of invisibility? Because invisibility is not our goal, Kimnari replied. Our goal is to become what the galaxy needs, whether they realize it or not. She brought up another display, this one showing long-range scans of galactic civilization. The data was disturbing. Environmental collapse on dozens of worlds, resource wars spreading across entire sectors, and most troubling of all, signs that something was stirring in the dark space beyond the galaxy's outer rim. Our deep scouts have detected massive energy signatures moving toward galactic space from outside the universe itself, Kimnari said. Something ancient and hostile is awakening, something that views all organic life as a threat to be eliminated. The galaxy's current technology and military doctrine will be useless against it. The Devourers, whispered Lu Shen. We thought they were myth. They are real, Kimnari confirmed. And they will reach the galaxy's outer rim within the next 50 years. When they do, every species in galactic space will face extinction, unless someone is there to stop them. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. The galaxy that had exiled them was about to face a threat that would make their fears about dangerous species seem like a child's nightmare. And the only civilizations with the technology and knowledge to fight such a threat were the ones that had been cast out into the void. So we return not as conquerors, said Tal Reshef slowly, but as guardians. If they will accept us, Kimnari replied. The galaxy will have to choose between their old fears and their survival, and we will have to choose between justice and mercy. Engineer Choi Dal, who had spent decades developing humanity's most advanced technologies, activated one final display. This one showed a fleet of ships unlike anything that had ever existed. They were not built of metal or energy, but of living space-time itself, shaped by will and powered by the fundamental forces of reality. Humanity can field a fleet of 10,000 vessels, Choidal said, each one capable of existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, immune to all known weapons, and able to manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level. We could destroy the current galactic civilization in a matter of hours. But that would make us the very thing they feared we would become, Kimnari said quietly. Instead, we offer them a choice. Evolution or extinction, partnership or isolation. They can join us in becoming something greater than they ever imagined, or they can face the coming darkness alone. The Council of Exiles began to discuss the proposal in earnest. Outside the station's living walls, the void between galaxies stretched endlessly in all directions. Somewhere in that darkness, ancient enemies were stirring, and somewhere else in that darkness, the descendants of exiled civilizations were preparing to return to a galaxy that had never imagined what they would become. The 50 years of exile were ending. The real test of what these civilizations had learned was about to begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was chaos. Representatives from 300 species shouted over each other in dozens of languages, their voices creating a wall of noise that the translation systems could barely handle. At the center of it all, High Arbiter Veltana struggled to maintain order as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The ancient enemy had arrived. Ships the size of moons had emerged from the void beyond galactic space, their black hulls seeming to absorb light itself. They moved through star systems like a plague, consuming everything in their path, planets, stars, even the space between them. Entire civilizations were vanishing without sending so much as a distress signal. The Outer Rim defense fleets have been completely destroyed, reported Admiral Kexthul, her voice shaking with barely controlled terror. We sent everything we had, 10,000 ships, the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. The enemy vessels did not even slow down. What about the Kelvani defensive grid? Demanded Council Member Jektar. Their energy shields can stop anything. Gone, Admiral Kexthul replied. The enemy weapons do not destroy matter, they unmake it. They cause atoms to simply stop existing. No shield, no armor, no defense we know of can protect against that. High Arbiter Veltanus felt a cold certainty settling in his chest. This was exactly what the old legends had warned about. The Devourers, beings from outside the universe who viewed all matter as an infection to be cleansed. They had come before eons ago, and only the combined effort of every species in the galaxy had managed to drive them back. But that galaxy had been different. United. Strong. This galaxy was fractured by fear, weakened by centuries of isolation and mistrust. They had no chance against an enemy that could unmake reality itself. High Arbiter, came a new voice from the chamber's communication system. I request permission to address the council. Every voice in the chamber fell silent. The voice was speaking perfect galactic standard, but with an accent that had not been heard in this chamber for 50 years. It was human. This is impossible, whispered Council Member Threxani. The humans are gone, exiled, they cannot be here. We never left, the voice replied calmly. We have been here all along, watching, learning, waiting. The air in the center of the chamber began to shimmer, and slowly a figure materialized. It was clearly human in general shape, but changed in ways that made the assembled representatives gasp in shock. The being's skin seemed to shift between flesh and metal. Her eyes glowed with inner light, and when she moved, space itself seemed to bend around her. I am Captain Kimnari, she said, her voice carrying clearly to every corner of the vast chamber. I speak for humanity and for the Alliance of the Exiled. We offer you a choice. High Arbiter Veltanus found his voice with difficulty. You are supposed to be gone. Exiled to your home system. Captain Kimnari smiled, and the expression was both beautiful and terrifying. You exiled us because you feared what we might become. Look at us now and understand. We became exactly what you needed us to be. She gestured, and the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the space around the council station. What the representatives saw there made several of them faint outright. Ships filled the void around them. Not hundreds or thousands, but millions. And they were not ships as the galaxy understood them. They were living things made of crystallized spacetime, beings of pure energy contained in hulls that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Each one was larger than the galaxy's biggest battleships, yet they moved with the grace of living creatures. The Devourers have returned, Kimnari continued. Your current technology cannot stop them. Your current weapons cannot harm them. Your current understanding of reality is not sufficient to comprehend what you are fighting, but we can help you. Help us? Veltanus managed. After we exiled you? Because you exiled us, Kimnari replied. In the void between galaxies, we met others who had been cast out. We learned from them, and they learned from us. Together we became something greater than any single species could achieve alone. We became the guardians you never knew you needed. Another figure materialized beside Kimnari. This one was even more changed, his form shifting between human and something else entirely. I am Dr. Parkgina, he said. 50 years ago, my mother helped design humanity's exile. She would be proud to see what that exile accomplished. A holographic display appeared in the chamber's center, showing the approaching Devourer fleet. The dark ships were moving through galactic space like a cancer, leaving empty void where star systems used to be. They will reach the galaxy's core worlds in 6 months, Parkgina explained. When they do, every species represented in this chamber will cease to exist. Not destroyed, unmade, erased from reality as if you never were. What do you want from us? Demanded Council Member Drixnall. Evolution, Kimnari replied simply. The galaxy has remained static for too long, trapped by fear of change. The Devourers feed on stagnation, on civilizations that have stopped growing. To survive, you must become more than what you are. A third figure appeared, Commander Lihana, her form crackling with barely contained energy. We offer you our technology, our knowledge, our protection. But we cannot simply give these things to you. You must choose to accept them, knowing that doing so will change you forever. Change us how? Asked Admiral Kexthul. Into what we have become, Lihana replied. Beings who exist across multiple dimensions, who can manipulate matter and energy at will, who are no longer limited by the boundaries of flesh or metal or time itself. You will become more than organic or artificial. You will become something new. The chamber erupted in terrified protests. Representatives shouted about losing their identities, their cultures, their very essence as distinct species. But underneath the fear, Veltanus could hear something else, hope. And if we refuse? He asked. Kimnari's expression grew sad. Then we will withdraw to the void spaces and wait. When the Devourers have finished their work, when the galaxy is empty and silent, we will return to rebuild. But you will not be part of that new civilization. You would let us die? Jektar accused. We would respect your choice, Kimnari replied, just as you respected ours when you chose to exile us. The difference is that we are offering you a chance to survive your choice. High Arbiter Veltanis looked around the chamber at the representatives of 300 species. He saw fear in their faces, but also something else. For the first time in centuries, he saw unity. The threat of extinction was doing what thousands of years of diplomacy had failed to accomplish. It was bringing them together. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. Engineer Choi Dal materialized next to the other humans, his form so changed that he barely looked human at all anymore. We will share our technology with any species that chooses to accept it. We will teach you to exist in multiple dimensions, to manipulate reality itself, to become beings of living space-time, but you must choose freely, knowing that there is no going back. And together, Kimnari added, we will face the Devourers as equals, not as separate species fighting for survival, but as a unified civilization defending reality itself. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some species demanded guarantees that they would retain their identities. Others worried about the implications of such fundamental change. A few simply refused to believe that the humans were offering help rather than conquest. But in the end, as reports continued to arrive of worlds vanishing without trace, the choice became clear. We accept, High Arbiter Veltanis said finally. Not all of us, perhaps. Some will choose to remain as they are. But those who wish to survive, who wish to grow beyond what we have always been, we accept your offer. Kimnari nodded, and for the first time since materializing in the chamber, she smiled with genuine warmth. Then let us begin. The first lesson is simple but profound. You must learn to exist without fear. Fear is what the Devourers use to unmake reality. Love, hope, curiosity, the drive to become more than you are. These are what will save us all. The transformation began immediately. Human ships docked with stations across the galaxy, their crews sharing knowledge that had been gathered over 50 years of exile. Species that had never trusted each other found themselves working together. Their consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of individual identity. And in the void beyond galactic space, the Devourer fleet suddenly slowed. For the first time in eons, they encountered something they had not expected. A galaxy that was changing, growing, becoming more than it had ever been before. The exile was over. The real adventure was just beginning.